everybody, June here. It is December already and I have no idea where this year has gone. But today I'm going to share with you my finished sewing projects for November. And I was actually waiting for two things to make this video. One, I was waiting to do outside modeling shots and modeling videos of all these things I'm going to show you today. But that is just not going to happen because it is just too cold out, and it's okay if you're modeling, like a coat. But to model shirts and pants and things, it's just too cold. The other thing that I was waiting for is to actually blog about all these things, and I haven't. I have blogged about a few, actually just like two, but not about the other ones. And I figured if I waited till I blogged about everything, this video would never come. So with that out of the way, let's get started. The first thing that I finished in November was the Mia jeans from the Sew Over It My City Break book. And it was a little bit of a labor of love. I actually had to make two, so I started this in September, and those I was too eager to make arrangements and adjustments before actually trying them on. So I made an adjustment to the crotch and the back that ended up making it too short for me, and I regretted that. So I had to order the fabric again, I had to trace the pattern again, actually just tape it together. And long story short, my second pair was actually started and finished in November. And I believe that I started with a 10 at the legs, and then I graded through 12 at the waist, and then did some adjustments from there. I ended up taking in a lot of the side seams. I ended up taking in a lot of the legs and the waist. So I think going with a 10 straight would have done it for me. But all in all, I like how they feel on, but I have to say that they don't look so great on. They look fine, but not terribly flattering in the back. And I think the problem for that is so much stretch in the fabric. So when you're trying them on and you're doing the fitting initially, it all fits fine. But as you wear the jeans and they stretch, it starts to look a little bit saggy on the thighs. But I think they're perfectly wearable. They are just not, they don't look as good on me as they do on Lisa Comfort. Let's just put it that way. The next item I'm going to show you is the Papercut Patterns Kyoto Sweater, and oh my goodness, do I love this sweater. Do I love this sweater. I am a sucker for ruffles, and I love mint green. When I saw this pattern back in June, I think when they released it, I knew that I had to have it, so I bought it. But as with things sewn related over the summer, just sort of fell off my radar, and I didn't make it, until November. And I had this beautiful thin, really drapey French terry. It's thinner than any French terry I've ever seen, and in this gorgeous color mint, so I thought it would be great together. So I make that, and I think I just cut a straight size M. I can't remember, although I did shorten the body, I think 1 inch maybe, I can't remember exactly. And I shortened the sleeves. I have blogged about this one, so all that information that I can remember now is in the blog, which I'm going to link in the bottom in the description, so do check that out. Next up is a Linden Sweater from Grainline Studio. Okay, as you can see, this is out of focus here. I messed up. I did not see that it hadn't focused, but focus comes back in about 50 seconds, so stick with me. Sorry. And this is another one that I actually had to make twice, and they look exactly the same. They're just different sizes. So for the first one, I went with the size that was recommended for my my high bust, and oh my god, was it huge. I'm gonna put in a video here so you can see how big it was. It looked like I was just wearing a tent. And part of the issue with that is that the fabric that I used it didn't drape. It was a sweatshirt fleece, and so it literally looked like there was a tent around me. It was awful. I thought it looked okay when I looked in the mirror because I could only see it from the front. But then earlier in the month, we went out to the park to shoot the modeling video, and I came home and I was like, no, there's just no way that I can ever wear this thing. So I cut a couple sizes smaller, and it fits great. For that one, I also shortened the sleeves a little bit because they are pretty long. Grainline Studio sleeves are pretty long. But then again, I can't remember exactly how much I cut, probably about 2 inches or so. But I did mark that in the pattern, so I'll put it in the description. But this fabric is a sweatshirt fleece, but it's really, it's not a very dense knit. I don't know, it's not loose either, but it's a little bit strange. And then for the bindings, for the neck, the hemband and the sleeve band, I used ribbon. And one other thing about Grainline Studio patterns, and I have had this happen with all of the t-shirt and knit top patterns that I've made from them, is that they cut the neck binding just too small. I can see if you're using an extremely stretchy fabric with a lot of recovery that it would work, but I find that I always have to add at least an inch in length to the neck band. Otherwise you end up with, this is not the top, but otherwise you end up with like ripples all along your neckline. I've had that happen with the hemlock tee. I had that happen with the definitely with the linen tee and with the lark tee. Every single time you just have to add some length to the band. For this one, the first time I tried to so the one that's really big, I first tried to do the band with the same fabric as the rest of the sweatshirt, and it was a disaster. First of all, the fabric is really thick, so it wouldn't even go, like all of those layers wouldn't even go through my serger. And it was a disaster. The fabric just ended up being a hot mess. That's when I decided that I needed some ribbing. But even then, with the ribbing, I still had to add some. Otherwise, I just couldn't get it to look decent. So do be careful with that on Grainline Studio patterns. Otherwise, they're great. Next is the True Buyers Hudson pants, and I love these pants. I made it with a sweatshirt fabric that is really stretchy, but the pattern recommends 40% stretch, and it did not have 40% stretch. So I went one size up from the one that is recommended for me, and they fit, they don't feel quite as slim as they do on the other pictures I've seen, but I think it's because I went a size up. But now that I've worn them, I don't really think that I needed to go a size up, even with the fabric that didn't have 20% stretch. I think my normal size would have been fine. But these pants are so comfortable. So freaking comfortable. They are a little bit long on me, and it's okay because they're cuffed, so it's not like they fall off my feet or anything. But if I was to make them again, and I definitely will, I think I'm going to go down to my regular size, and then I'm going to shorten the legs by about 2 inches or so, and that should do it. But they are so comfortable, and because I made them with this fleece that is actually fleecy inside, it's not like the sweatshirt fleece with that is just like a thin layer of cotton or flannel or whatever. This is actually like thick sweatshirt fleece, and it's wonderful. However, it is not terribly great quality. The first time that I wore it, first of all, let's just start with this. The heathering on the fabric itself doesn't actually align with the grain. It doesn't run perpendicular to the grain, it runs at an angle, and I didn't realize this until I started cutting. So I either had the choice of cutting things on the grain line and then have the heathering go diagonally, or I would cut the pieces so that the heathering was you know, perpendicular to the ground, and then the grain line was wonky. And so I went with the second because I had already started cutting. In the end, it really didn't matter. The fabric is so stretchy and they're not draping as other pants would, so the fact that they're slightly off grain doesn't make a difference. However, the first time that I wore them, like 5 minutes after I put them on and started walking, the inside of my thighs started peeling. And I hate that because, I mean, I just said you spend so much time sewing something and then it's terrible quality. And I bought this at the garment district. It wasn't dirt cheap, so I would have expected a bit more quality from that. But other than that, I love these pants. I definitely would make them again. And the fabric has nothing to do with the design or the drafting of the pattern, which is great. Next is actually what I'm wearing, which is the Raglan, the Elaine Raglan by Hey June patterns. And this was a bit of a last minute thing, actually very last minute. I made it the very last evening of November. And I had the pattern in my stash for a while and hadn't gotten around to doing it. And then I really wanted to make a tee, and I didn't want to make another lark. I didn't want to make another hemlock tee, so I thought I would give this one a try. Now, I shortened this pattern, the body part, 1 inch, and it's still pretty long. And I made the sleeves elbow length. I don't know if you can see it here. Elbow length, and for me they come like at my elbow, but in the picture they come a little bit higher. Now granted, I am short. I am 5'1.5", so I always have shortened everything, but this one I feel is particularly long. And I do have to say, you can't see it here, hopefully I filmed this this part before, but I like that it has a curved hem. I thought it would be difficult to sew, but it really wasn't. And I think part of the reason why it was so easy to sew is that the fabric that I used for the body is actually an athletic wicking fabric, and it's really thin. It's the same fabric that I used to make my duathlon shorts from Fur Trade many months ago now, but it is really great for t-shirts. And then this fabric is some that I had left from another project, and it was, when I bought it, it said that it was a sweater knit, but it's really thin. And I can't remember what it was that I started with it, but I know that it was a disaster. And then I had some fabric left, but I didn't have enough to make a whole thing. So I thought, what better way to use it than to use it as an accent for something else. So that's what I did. Now this pattern was drafted very well. The neckband was the right length. There was no puckering. There was no, extra stretchy. There was none of that. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. If I was to make it again, and I would make it again, I would definitely shorten more and maybe either lengthen the sleeves, so make 3/4, and for me that would be full length, or shorten the shoulder length, the elbow length, so that they are a bit more out of the way, because I do find that I have to hike them up a little bit because sometimes my shoulder catches them. But other than that, it's great. I haven't worn it yet. This is the first time I wear it. I have this thing with, like, I don't really want to wear things until I photograph them or done video, but because it's taken me so long to do all of this, I have worn the other things that I've been showing you. And as if I had, like, I'm wearing new clothes and new hair and I'm in a new location. And that is because this whole clip that I'm re-recording here was out of focus. And although the first one that was out of focus was only about 50 seconds, this one was like a whole 3 minutes, and I couldn't put you through that. So moving on to this item, this is a pair of lined pants that I made for my son. We live in New York, and so it gets very cold, and last year he had a pair of lined jeans that he wore quite a bit. But I've said before that he's really tall but really skinny, so pants are either too short if they fit in the waist, or if they are long enough then they fall off of him. So this year I decided that instead of trying to hunt down another pair of lined pants, I would make it for him. And so I chose this pattern from an October Kids issue. I think it's 04/2015, but I'm not sure about that. However, the pants as per the pattern are not lined, so I had to figure this out on my own. I did look online for some tutorials, but there are a lot of tutorials for lined pants if what you want are elasticated waist pull-on pants. But for pants with zippers, there is not a whole lot out there. And so I really had to figure this out as I went. And I'm sure there's a few unconventional construction techniques in there, but all in all, they turned out great. And they fit everywhere, and I'm pretty pleased with how they turned out. I pre-treat all of my fabric, but I was concerned that because denim tends to shrink even after you wash it once or twice, that once I wash the whole, the pants as a whole, because the fabrics tend to shrink at different rates, that it would just look weird. But it doesn't. The denim and the cuddle, I think it's called cuddle flannel, that I use for the lining, they just work fine when washed. So I guess all is well that ends well, and he's really happy with the pants. I'm really happy with the pants, and I learned quite a bit. And now back to my old clothes, and hopefully that is all that is out of focus, because I don't want to do this again. Next, I'm going to show you this tote, and I'm stepping back to show it to you because I can't remember if I actually filmed this out in the wild or not. But I made this tote, and it's empty now, so you can't see the body of it. I had wanted a tote like this for a while, but I kind of got around to it. And after I made those lined pants, the week and a half later, I decided that I needed a very quick project to do. And so I drafted this one. And so if you go online and you look for patterns for canvas totes, like they have zippers and snaps and linings and God knows what. And I didn't want any of that. I just wanted a simple canvas tote. So I drafted my own, and as you can see, I embroidered the outside. It says "Can't, I'm booked." But inside, it is unfinished. It is just serged. It's a single layer. it has one pocket here, and the top is finished with a facing that holds the straps in place. So it's really simple to make. I mean, it was very quick. It's like a matter of a couple of hours, not counting the embroidery, which actually took some time. I didn't do this by hand, by the way. That embroidery is most definitely done by machine. But that was the only non-clothing project that I did in November. And last, I am going to share a fail. Back in the spring, I had the bright idea that I would make the Rigel, something like that, bomber jacket from Papercut patterns from a floral scuba knit with pink ribbing. And I had the fabric, I had the zipper, I had the ribbon, I had everything. And then I started on it, and of course it didn't occur to me that doing welt pockets on scuba knit, which can be ironed, would be tricky. So I thought, okay, I'll just leave that out. So I started working on the jacket. The jacket is fine, but I don't know, it's just, now that I finished it, it looks like a tracksuit from the 80s. It looks like something an old lady would wear, and I am just not happy with it. And I'm also not happy with how the bottom turned out. It's just wonky. It doesn't sit square on the hem. The parts with the zipper just sort of, I don't know, point down. And I am just not gonna wear that, so that's going in the donation pile. However, I have to say that the pattern itself is fine, and I would definitely make it again. I would just make wiser fabric choices. Don't make it in scuba, make it in something else. But you know, 1 or 2 failures out of so many projects is really not terrible. So I'm happy with how November turned out. I think December's gonna be a little slower because I'm working on a big project. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see my stories and you know what I'm talking about. Also, like, I spent all of November sewing. I didn't do very much else. And so now I'm going to, you know, I'm not putting sewing on the back burner, but I am working on this one big project. So that is all that I have for you for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time with maybe just one project for December. I don't know, we'll see. Thanks for watching. Bye.